Got some emojis in there. This is solid. Obviously, you don't want to overdo it with emojis, but this is something to consider. Financial analysis, market moving insights, researchers and academics. It's a pretty decent blog.
Really just no option. There's those who are going to embrace AI and there's those who are going to get left behind.
It doesn't just look at the closed caption file on YouTube. This is a multimodal model, vision model, which means it was trained to see and to read.
What are some of the tools and opportunities that creators can be looking at if they want to be generating graphics with AI and YouTube thumbnails?
I showed this to my team this morning and their minds were blown. In the AI world, who's going to be the next big player? And it's probably going to be one of these really big companies we're already familiar with because they're betting billions on it.
We're actually going to see how you can start using AI immediately to save time, to boost the reach of your content, and ultimately to grow your overall creator business and online business and make more money. And so today I've got Michael Stelzner, the founder of Social Media Marketing World, Social Media Examiner, and a brand new AI brand and podcast as well. He's been researching this for the last 2 years. He's been in this online business and online marketing space for well over a decade and is one of the leading experts on this topic. And so we're going to explore these 3 ways to use AI as a content creator. Michael, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk about this today.
I want to make a note that this is part 2 of our conversation. And in part 1, we talked about 3 mega trends. And we kind of also talked about AI at a higher level. But now we're going to go super tactical. So number 1, review YouTube videos with Notebook LM by Google. This is the to-do. And Michael's going to break this down step by step right now.
Okay, so first of all, let's just clarify what this thing is called Notebook LM. Google invented the technology called GPT, which ChatGPT used ultimately, and everybody knows what ChatGPT is, but Google is the one that invented the underlying technology. And Google introduced this thing called Notebook LM, mostly for educational institutions originally to summarize documents or big, huge files in a way that was easy for universities and students. But recently they've kind of expanded it and it can now do lots of things. Some of the people watching or listening may have heard some of these AI voices where it's a guy and a gal talking to each other. Have you heard this before, Sean, where it sounds like a human, but it's not a human? Well, that's all from Notebook LM. So one of the cool things about Notebook LM is it is the only model as of today that can do what we're about to talk about. So what you can do with Notebook LM, and you go to notebooklm.google to ultimately get into it, you can go ahead and add any YouTube video to it. Now here's the trick. The video needs to be a few days old. It won't work if it's brand new video. You can put any YouTube video into it. And by the way, the application here is, let's say you don't have time to watch a 45-minute, hour-long, or 30-minute video, and you want to find out what the heck that whole thing is about, and you want to kind of understand it. Or let's say you want to do some competitive analysis on some other videos. You can put a video, you can put multiple videos into this thing. And what it does is it doesn't just look at the closed caption file on YouTube. This is a multimodal model, vision model, which means it was trained to see and to read. And this is really important for a lot of people to understand. So when you put this link in there, it will watch the video and it will read the subtitles of the video. And as many of you know, if you just look at the transcript of a video, you're missing a big part of the video, right, Sean? Because there's oftentimes screen shares and all sorts of other stuff that's going on. So when you go here, what you can do is you can quite literally insert a link directly into a video, and then you can begin querying the video. For example, Sean, I took a video from your channel called How to Edit a YouTube Video for Beginners, No Skills Needed. Full disclosure, this appeared to be a sponsored video for Gling AI, okay? And I asked it, what are some tweetable moments from this video, and add timestamps? So what it did was it identified a whole bunch of tweetable moments. For example, it said Gling AI is like having your own video editing assistant, exclamation point. It cuts out bad takes, removes silence, and gives you a rough cut in no time. And it gave me the timestamp 38 seconds to 48 seconds. So what it did was it created 6 or 7 different tweetable moments right out of that video. Okay, so this is an immediate application for people that want to share a short little something on X. But I also asked, what is the visual style of this video? I also asked it, where do you recommend chapter markers? So this is kind of cool. It recommended chapter markers in different places than where you actually had the chapter markers. And I also said, if I were doing a similar video, what sections would you suggest removing? Or you could ask it, what sections would you suggest expanding on? Because many YouTube creators do this. They find a really popular video and they analyze it and they try to make something better. Well, you can now go into Notebook LM, you can put that link in there, and you can ask it to analyze the video to find opportunities. And it's going to say, well, we don't recommend you copy videos. If you were to create something similar, here's an area where you might not want to go, and here's an area where you might want to go. And it's really, really cool. Now, for a few more things, Notebook LM can do 1,000 other things. You can drop PDFs in there, and you can query PDFs of anything that you've got, and you can ask it questions. You can drop huge legal documents in it and ask it to summarize it. So it doesn't just work with Google files. I mean, with links to YouTube, it works with actual files that you can upload. You have any thoughts or questions on that one?
A bunch. So one, we'll link these resources in the description. The website is notebook, the letters lm.google. And I just went there. This might be a video version of the podcast that you want to check out. And I uploaded my conversation with the creator's attorney and was able to actually create like a quiz. So it actually had, if you were going to study the video,
oh, cool.
It's got the questions, then it has the answer key based on the conversation. It has essay questions, and then it has a glossary of terms that it even defines.
Did you do this literally while we were during the interview?
I did this while we were doing it, trying to follow along, and I'm just now digging into this. Now, this is free, right? Is there a paid side of this?
It's free. I think you just have to have a Google account to get into it.
Yeah, so if you have a Google account, which you do, if you have a YouTube channel, you could start using this. I am curious if you've done something similar. One of the reasons why I like using Gemini is because Gemini, owned by Alphabet, who owns Google and YouTube, is another place where you can post a YouTube link and say, hey, can you give me why this video performed, well? What do you like?
Okay, here's the deal. I have found that when I put a YouTube link into any of the other platforms, they hallucinate and think the video is completely something different, okay? Mm-hmm. I've messed around with ChatGPT. I've messed around with, well, you can't even do it in Claude. And I've messed around with AI Studio, which is Google's advanced model. And for whatever reason, it thinks the video is completely different. So I haven't really messed around specifically with Gemini, but here's what I like about Notebook. You can create notes, right? So whatever the answer is, you can save it as a note. You can create lots of notes. You can create as many of these notebooks as you want to. And it's just a really cool way to work with one thing. Does that make sense? It's like it's designed to be really easy. You can save it. You can reference it later. And you can create audio notes out of it as well, which is the cool thing. So you can create quite literally a podcast episode if you really wanted to with the click of a button. 3 minutes later, you'll get like a 10-minute audio version that are those two AI voices talking together about whatever the content is.
Yeah, so when you say you could create notes, basically if you were to say, I want to pull a bunch of things from one YouTube video, I really want to study one video and look at it from this angle, that angle.
That quiz, you could save it as a note and it'll be there forever is what I'm trying to say.
Got it. And so you can
query, whatever query you make, you hit save it as a note and it shows up there and it's there forever.
Yeah, that's incredibly, and I mean, we're just one tool in and you're talking about, this is free. So this is the kind of disruption that is coming from
I started All Nation Restoration to help people. Chase for Business is literally what it says in the name. It is Chase for Business, where I can find everything I need in one place so we can help people get back to life.
Listen up. We've got 3 hours to land a new tagline. What do you got? Any ideas? Anybody? Yes.
Yesterday, you were on mute. Today, everybody is listening.
This is the couch where Susan used to rest. The doctors at Rush found a softball-sized tumor in her brain. The team did everything they possibly could. Susan's mom now says, if you want to find Susan, just look toward the sky. She's up there, practicing her trapeze. She's getting very good.
Google and AI. And then also, final tip on this one is one of your prompts you're suggesting is to say, if I was to do a similar video, what sections would you, do you have any other prompts like that?
Well, I just made that up on the fly, but you could say, hey, I made this video is really popular. Help me recommend 3 or 4 other videos that you think are worthy to be made. And by the way, I don't know if it's going to work with an entire channel. I don't think so. I think it's designed to look at a single piece of content. But what the AI will do, and by the way, the AI is ridiculously good at this. What it will do is it will find the essence of whatever the content is, which is why Notebook LM has gone viral, because it's ridiculously good at with this podcast to kind of find the essence of what's important. And it's designed for educators, right? So it's really good at explaining things in very easy to understand terms.
So you could say something like, what are the weaknesses of this video is kind of another way to say that. And
Sure.
and then these are prompts now that you're typing in, and then you can save them as notes. So you really can learn here. So now I'm looking at, okay, what sources, weaknesses of the video content from, this is just one YouTube video that I've put in here. There's a bunch of stuff that it has added, and I can save that to note. And then I now have my collection of notes, the quiz.
And it all stays within your notebook, yeah.
And it all stays within that notebook. And then I can start a brand new one and categorize them however I want. Well, man, this is so powerful. And what a powerful tool, and entirely free, which brings us to the next one, which is ways to use AI to repurpose content strategically. What are your thoughts here?
Okay, for this one, I'm going to recommend 2 tools that have free versions and paid versions, and I think you need to use the paid versions to do what I'm about to do. It's ChatGPT, which we've already talked about, and it's Claude.ai. Everybody probably knows ChatGPT. Have you tried Claude ever, Sean?
I personally have been recommended Claude so much, and I have not made it that far yet. Okay. So, yeah.
Backstory on Claude real quick is Amazon is a major investor in Claude, so it's been trained on everything Amazon owns. Remember what Amazon owns. They own a lot. They own Whole Foods. They own the largest shopping marketplace in the world. And Jeff Bezos' Washington Post has also been trained on this. And ChatGPT is Claude is really, really good with writing. And we could talk about it for a long time, but in this particular case, to repurpose content, this is a really fascinating thing you can do. You can, with ChatGPT or Claude, upload a PDF. So you could go to a page, save it as a PDF, or you can copy and paste the content into either one of these. And what you can ask it to do is basically to say, hey, look at this content and help me figure out other creative types of content that I can make from this piece of content. And I'll give you an example. I recently did a live masterclass on AI for marketers. I wasn't even done with the deck yet. And I uploaded a PDF into each of these 2 tools, and I asked it to recommend to me what it could make from this content. And what's really cool about this, Sean, this is going to blow your mind. It didn't just look at the content, but it understood the content before it made the recommendations. And it said, hey, because you happen to host the AI Explored podcast, I think you should do a couple of special episodes on these topics that you talk about inside the webinar. So it's not just It's not just saying, hey, you can make a podcast out of this. It's saying not only could you make a podcast about this, but you should make a podcast for your podcast because it knows what my podcast is, because I had a screenshot of my podcast in the deck. And then it said, here's a couple of special episodes you could do. And then I went on to say, well, can you outline it for me? And it came up with the script and everything in seconds. So any piece of content, including a video or a YouTube video, you could take the transcript, because right now you cannot upload videos right now into ChatGPT or Claude, but you could take the transcript, pop it in there, and you could say, what other types of content could I create from this? And it's going to come up with really strong recommendations based on the content that is there.
Every day you want to start your YouTube channel is another day of missed opportunities and untapped potential. Here's the truth. YouTube reaches more 18 to 49-year-olds than all the cable networks combined. The opportunity is massive, and the Think Media team and I want to help you seize it. I'm excited to announce our YouTube 1K Challenge, a free 5-day event that will give you the exact blueprint to start and grow your YouTube channel in 2025. Whether you're an entrepreneur, business owner, or somebody ready to grow their personal brand, this challenge is your roadmap to success. To register, just go to tube1kchallenge.com. We're going to be doing one training session a day for 5 days, and you're going to learn how to get your first 1,000 subscribers and start earning real income. Insider strategies that make viewers want to click on your videos and keep watching. Multiple different ways to earn money from your YouTube channel, even if you have a small audience, and how to build an authentic personal brand that truly connects with people. But it gets even better. We are giving away prizes every single day of the challenge. You could win professional microphones, lighting kits, and premium content creation software. And during this challenge, you're getting access to the exact training that we offer in our $4,000 coaching program, but you're getting it completely for free, and you can start with just your smartphone. So if you're ready to turn 2025 into your YouTube breakthrough year, go to tube1kchallenge.com to register. That's tube1kchallenge.com, or click the link in the show notes or YouTube description to register for our upcoming challenge.
If you want to get specific, you could say, help me create a email series based on this video. Maybe you want to have a welcome series, right? Based on a 30-minute presentation that you've done. Anything that you do, you could do this. And another application here is I created a report that was like 38 pages long, full of mostly graphs and charts. And I uploaded the report into it. And then I basically asked it to help me create the outline for the masterclass based on some of the key findings of the report. So basically I took a really technical document, it created an entire outline for a webinar for me. And then ultimately I took that webinar back in and asked it to come up with new ideas. So if you can just get creative and start letting that, your brain go a little bit here, there's a million things you can do by taking something that you know is already successful for you and figuring out other applications for it in other kinds of areas.
So you can't use a YouTube link, correct?
You can a little bit, because quite literally a few days ago, actually yesterday, we're recording this on November 1st. On October 31st, ChatGPT released what they call ChatGPT Search. And I was messing around with it this morning. I haven't done enough testing on it, but ChatGPT Search, it might be possible that you could use a YouTube link. But I think it's better if you can take an actual something like text or a PowerPoint or PDF and upload the entire thing into it, because then the AI is going to be able to work with it a little better. My recommendation is to actually take the content, either paste it in there if it's text or upload it in there, because I think you're going to get better results.
A couple questions. How do you pull transcripts? Are you still paying for transcripts? Or are you just exporting off of Google's closed captioning of your videos?
I think the next tip is going to address this.
Okay, so we'll get that tip in just a second. I signed up for Claude while you were talking. I might be the worst podcast host in the sense that I take action. I take fast action. I'm there now. I'm verifying my text.
Claude is absolutely amazing. You can do something called projects inside of Claude, and you can upload literally everything you've ever done. Okay, so imagine you take the transcripts of every video that's been your best performing video, or all of your best performing emails, or literally all the pages from your website. You make PDFs and you upload it in there. And then you say, you are the world's leading expert at writing persuasive emails. Okay. What I want you to do is model the context that's in here. And I want you to write me an email series. First, recommend how many emails I should have over a 2-week period. Go ahead and write the first one. It'll automatically write it. I mean, literally, and it will use just the training data that you've given it. It's going to blow your mind.
So I will say this. Here's what I did is the way to get some data. I went to my Think Media Podcast YouTube channel. I'll even show this. I went to my YouTube channel. I went to real-time analytics.
You could take a screenshot and put it in there. By the way, it will analyze that screenshot.
Okay, it can actually see the screenshot. That's cool. So then I went to videos only, and I went to the best performing videos in the last 48 hours. So this is excluding shorts. And then I am clearly going to have some of your newest videos, of course, are best performing, but with the ethic of ranked videos. There's videos on here from 2023, videos on here from 2021. So it's a good snapshot. I copied the text on this entire page and I posted it into Claude saying, here's the prompt. These are my top performing videos in the last 48 hours. What video ideas should I follow up with that would perform well? And then it said, looking at your performance, here's some of the patterns. And it said, here's some strategic video ideas based on what's working well. Follow up on your top performers, evergreen topics with fresh angles, and then looking at your data.
But then you can specifically, if you give it more data, you can get really specific with it. Now, here's something you should know about Claude. It does not search the web because Claude is built on what's called ethical model. So they're really strict on their training data, but if you upload data into it, it will work with anything. This is why typically people will print PDFs of pages or they'll take screenshots, and it can, both Claude and ChatGPT can read anything off of a screenshot. But Claude in particular, you really want to upload ideally PDFs into it, and then it will be able to work with that data. So you could just create a PDF out of a page, or you could take screenshots from it, and then you can ask it to analyze it. And Claude has some really cool ability to do real-time charting and all sorts of cool stuff that we're not going to get into.
That's genius. One of the final thoughts here is it says, looking at your data, I noticed this. News and update videos get 4 to 5 times more views than general tutorials. Content about risks, changes, and updates perform particularly well, and your audience responds well to numbered lists and need to know information. And then it asks,
good, right?
It's really strong. Yeah. Would you like to elaborate on any of these? And to your point, that was within seconds. I signed up, I kind of just captured a page, and I took it nowhere near to the depth of what you recommended. Now, we do have the third tip here in a second, but I want to remind people there is a part 1 of this episode.
Push that. Pump that. Work that. Push that. Work out. Be courageous. Be bold. Take the move and just do it.
Myself, the Eau de Parfum and Le Parfum, the new spicy vanilla bourbon intensity, Yves Saint Laurent.
Vitamin water is so New York. It accidentally stays out until 6 a.m. Good thing work doesn't start until 9.
Born on the battlefield and answered the call when America needed us most. From the original Freedom Machine came the original SUV. The Jeep brand has always stood for American freedom. Now we're standing with you with Employee Pricing Plus. Visit your Jeep brand dealer today and join the family. Jeep, America's most patriotic brand.
Now get Employee Pricing Plus. Get $2,000 cash allowance. Plus current FCA owners or lessees can get $500 on the 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xE. See your Chicagoland Jeep brand dealer today.
One of this episode where we talked about a lot of the trends creators need to know in 2025 in terms of social media macro and AI being one of them. And I do think, man, I've personally learned, I'm getting educated right now, the ethic is to dive into this stuff and to just start doing it, to take baby steps, to start doing it, notice patterns. I think it's not how much you do in one day, but it's what you do every day, little by little, that compounds in terms of learning how AI thinks, adding some of these new platforms to your understanding. And it really does become second nature. I feel like Gemini and ChatGPT are like an appendage for me right now. Like we're kind of have a relationship developing because we're talking, I'm kind of getting used to them. And I'm also learning about strengths and weaknesses of different platforms. So I want to encourage listeners when this AI stuff feels overwhelming, it's like one little skill at a time, one little test at a time, learning not just how much can you shove into one day, but where could you be by learning a little bit about this every single day? And it's too big to ignore. So just kind of figuring out these tools and,
yeah, let me just say something before we transition to this next thing. If you really want to learn more, I've worked really hard to really bring some of the most brilliant people in the world on my AI Explored podcast, and they're so much smarter than me. So I'm just a dabbler. These people are the pros. So our third tip is really exciting. It's about it's going to blow your minds. Okay, Google has this thing called AI Studio. Okay, so just remember it's aistudio.google.com. Again, it is completely free. It does not cost any money at all. And here's what's really cool about this. This thing, I uploaded an MP3 file, right? And anybody who has a YouTube channel knows that they can strip the audio out of their video if they want to. I uploaded a MP3 file of a 45-minute interview that I did into Google Studio. And then I said, write a summary optimized from YouTube. I didn't give it any text. I gave it an audio file. It took about 2 minutes, and here's what it came up with. Ever feel stuck creatively? This episode is for you. I'm Michael Stelzner, and I'm talking with AI expert Jenny Nicholson about how to unleash your creative potential using artificial intelligence. I didn't say any of this, okay? Jenny's story is amazing. She went from being unemployed to an AI innovator, and it just went on to talk about her favorite tools. It wrote this amazing summary optimized for YouTube. I did not say any of these words, okay? The way AI learned this is it listened to the podcast episode and then it wrote this. And it took it about 2 minutes. It was a 45-minute interview, okay? So this is the part that's going to blow your mind. I'm guessing, Sean, that you could upload an MP4 to this thing. I just haven't tried it yet, okay? And you could ask it anything. Now, this is where it starts to get creative. So many of us are verbal processors. Sean, you could take the Notes app and you could record a note while you're out walking. And I know people that do this. And you can upload that audio file directly into AI Studio and you can ask it to create a transcript. As a matter of fact, I asked it to create a transcript and it timed out a couple times. And then all of a sudden, boom, there it was. On the screen, I could see the transcript being written exactly word for word, everything that I said completely for free from a 45-minute audio file. Now, I should have been a little bit more precise and probably said, in the transcript, there are 2 guests. I want you to isolate the name of the guest because it's listening to it. It can tell the difference between my voice and my guest, Nikki. And if I did that, I'm very confident it would have said Michael Stelzner, and then it would have said my guest's name, actually Jenny Nicholson, I think is her name. And it would have done everything that I wanted, and I would have gotten a free transcript out of it in a couple minutes. So this AI Studio is your power tool where you can, it's kind of a playground for lack of better words. It's a little bit more technical than Notebook LM. You can pick different models and you can quite literally upload files into it. And Sean, you could probably upload a video file if you happen to have one sitting around on your desk. But the way it works is down on the bottom, you're just going to basically see a plus sign and you just upload the file. And you can upload images, you can upload audio. It doesn't say video in there, so I'm not sure it handles but maybe it can do it. But right now, we're confident it'll handle images, audio, and files. So this is where it could get really cool because you don't need anything other than the audio. And I showed this to my team this morning and their minds were blown because this is one of the struggles we as video creators have is writing a really good summary of the video. Imagine just uploading the audio file when you're done with this interview and having it write a couple different variations for you. You don't have to get a transcript, it literally will do it for you, which I think is kind of cool.
This is incredible. Now, my question is, if we just talk about closed captions on YouTube, do you just let YouTube auto do those right now, or are you transcripting your podcast on your team?
To be honest with you, I have a team and we've set up automations behind the scenes. So the way it works when I'm done with my podcast, I drop my podcast into a folder and automatically 4 different people in the company are emailed and automatically behind the scene, scenes, we're triggering AI captioning. And then when that's done, other people are triggered. So we've set up an entire AI automation sequence so that my team is pretty much got all the files and all the folders and Google Docs and ready to rock and roll.
So what do you do for captions?
They use, they're experimenting with this Google AI Studio thing because it has an API, but we also use Whisper. Whisper is by OpenAI. It's an API. The problem with Whisper, though, is sometimes it can hallucinate, and hallucinate means it can make stuff up. And there's been some professors at universities that have found the hallucination rate with OpenAI's Whisper is kind of higher than what they want, because if you're a scientist working at a university, you don't want any hallucinations. So, but Google, I think, is kind of the sleeping giant here. If there's one takeaway today, we've talked a lot about Google, and I want to tell everybody, don't discount Google. Even though ChatGPT is getting the limelight right now, they're a privately held company that's seeking a lot of money, and Google has more money than we can ever imagine. And they've got all the chips and all the technology and all the engineers behind the scenes, and Google's stuff right now is free. It's just not as sexy looking as some of these other things, but it's absolutely free. And I think it's kind of fun, and it should be your experimental playground.
I am curious about your take on that in terms of if we are betting on these different horses in the AI race, Claude, ChatGPT, and Google. I don't know if you think there's any other content. Microsoft.
Well, Microsoft is a lot. Meta, Facebook has Meta, which is their open source model, also known as Llama. So they're the other one in the race. So there's Facebook. Amazon is behind Anthropic. Google's got their own model.
And Anthropic is Claude.
Yes. No. Yeah. Anthropic is Claude, and then ChatGPT. So right now, all eyes are on ChatGPT. They're the predominant player right now. They're the ones that kicked off the generative AI revolution, and they're the ones that are innovating faster than anybody else. The secondary players is Anthropic. A lot of people believe Anthropic is a strong player. As a matter of fact, I'm constantly hearing in the AI world everyone talk about how they're using Claude by Anthropic more than they're using ChatGPT. So you know how this is. Once people find their tools and they love it, they have no reason to switch. So I strongly advocate putting these things head to head. Oftentimes I will use Claude to create something, and then I'll use ChatGPT to edit it. Because what ChatGPT is really good at is simple tasks like ideation and editing. And what Claude is really good at, when you train it right, is really good at creating output that is in your voice and your style. And I've had a lot of guests that have been on my AI Explorer podcast that go really deep on this, if anybody wants to go deeper on that.
So would you say that the AI revolution that we're in right now might kind of be like the search revolution, where Yahoo and Google and
we'll probably say, remember ChatGPT. Remember when everybody was talking about ChatGPT, because Google was not the first search engine.
Right.
Alta Vista was the one everybody was talking about.
Alta Vista, Yahoo. What is Microsoft's?
Bing. Yeah,
Bing.
exactly.
And then really they're eventually, what's interesting, right, is what maybe how markets work is Google just got so much market share, but yet the bottom 10% was still maybe had huge businesses, just tiny in comparison, because people still use Bing, people still use Yahoo to this day. And so this AI race is kind of a question of maybe who's going to be the next Google, and it might not be Google, is what your point is. Like it might, the AI, it could be ChatGPT, or it could be Anthropic.
Yeah, I mean, in the AI world, who's going to be the next big player? And it's probably going to be one of these really big companies we're already familiar with, because they're betting billions on it. You know, it could be Apple, it could be Google, it could be Amazon, it could be one of the Magnificent Seven, Tesla, you know, Elon Musk. They're all in a land race, okay? They're all, and that's great for consumers because there's all sorts of innovation happening right now.
This episode is brought to you by StreamYard. StreamYard is our go-to platform here at Think Media for live streaming to Facebook and YouTube, and for recording our video podcast. It has an incredibly easy-to-use interface for built-in branding, transitions, text lower thirds, and seamlessly bringing on guests. And they just added an awesome new feature called local recording. This allows you to take the quality to another level by separating out your audio and video from your guests, giving you more control over your content for later use. This feature is perfect for video and podcast creators, and so to get a special deal on StreamYard right now and to see all the features that are included, just go to streamwiththink.com. That is streamwiththink.com. Interesting. Well, and kind of part two of this conversation, we're covering images, thumbnails, titles, descriptions. And so when it comes to creating graphics, and in the context of this podcast, maybe YouTube thumbnails, maybe slides if people are getting graphics for presentations. I know listeners and viewers know that I teach a lot from like PowerPoint decks or Keynote, and AI can generate images. PowerPoint decks or Keynote, and AI can generate images. What are some of the tools and opportunities that creators can be looking at if they want to be generating graphics with AI and YouTube thumbnails?
Okay, there's a million little apps. ChatGPT has something built in called DALL-E 3, and I believe you need the paid version to do this, and it can create pretty good images. The problem with ChatGPT stuff is it starts to look all alike. And anytime it introduces text, it freaks out. It's not very good. That could be resolved in the future. But anybody who's created images in ChatGPT know how frustrating it is when you just try to get it to fix one thing and it does something completely different. So one little tip is you can export these files out of ChatGPT into Photoshop. And this is where you can get creative. Photoshop has all these cool technologies called generative fill. So you can quite literally highlight a section and then a prompt will pop up and you can tell it to fix it or to remove it or to replace it. And that's very, very basic stuff. If you want to go really, really far, Midjourney is the tool that the pros are using right now. Midjourney is kind of like Photoshop on steroids. It does photorealistic stuff that is so good looking that you cannot tell, generally speaking, that is AI generated. Now, in between all of this, there is something called Flux. And the latest model today is called Flux 1.1 Pro, and that's probably going to change in the future. But if you have a X/Twitter account and you pay for your check mark like I do, this is free. And you can go in there and you can start asking it to generate images and they will look real. And it does a really good job with hands. A lot of these AI images screw up hands, and it's like you can tell there's something wrong with the hands. This thing must have been trained on a library of photographs because it's ridiculously good. There are also third-party tools you can purchase. One of them is Magi, M-A-G-A-I, by my friend Dustin Stout. And what's cool about this tool is it works with almost all of the models, so you can pick your model, but Midjourney is the one that nobody works with because Midjourney does not have an API. So moral of the story is the AI image thing is getting really, really, really good, and you can't even tell the difference. And if you want to go advanced, you can do research on face swapping. So what that means is you can generate a person, for example, at a computer, but it doesn't look like you. And then there's face swapping software where you can train it on photographs of you. And then essentially you can mold your face around that person. And all of a sudden that person looks like you. It's pretty stellar stuff.
Man, I want to recommend in the show notes, we had Matt Wolf on the podcast, and his thumbnails are trained on him to do these AI images using Flux and some different things if you want to go a little bit deeper on that. But you just blew my mind because not only is AI becoming so great at generating images, and maybe it's at a computer, it's behind a camera or something, but then once you have that image, you're like, well, it's not me, it's just somebody else. And so if you then generate that image, face swap, now you're kind of combining tools, and the connection point here becomes your creativity and your understanding of what's possible. And you were showing me Magi, M-A-G-A-I, yesterday, blown away with how lifelike and real these images are and what you were able to create. I do just want to clarify one question, because I believe I pay for a level of X. Is it Grok using Flux, or is there a different place you go to use?
Grok is the AI solution from X, and its images are powered by Flux. Does that make sense? So if you're using Grok on X and you ask it to generate an image, that image is actually being powered by Flux.
I got you. Okay, so that's a tool, and somebody might be paying for ChatGPT and not realize that you could click Dolly.
You don't have to click anything. You just ask it to create an image and it will do it.
Yeah, so Dolly is DALL-E. Dolly 3 is out now. Okay, so that's some great tools if you want to start doing images for all kinds of use cases, including thumbnails. Some of our students and community will still maybe have photos of themselves. They'll use something like Canva or Photoshop, and they're that prominent character still in the thumbnail, but the backgrounds, they're doing these different types of illustrative backgrounds, these different types of images that AI will generate to kind of reinforce, of course, making a highly clickable and interesting thumbnail. And then one other thing you have.
Real quick, if anybody has an Adobe license at all, you got to start messing around with what Adobe's got. They have something called Firefly, and Firefly is their AI generator, and it does allow you a lot of creative control. For example, you can choose different kinds of preset scenes, and you can say that you want it to be at the golden hour. For example, if you want to create an image at the golden hour, which a lot of photographers understand is near sunset with those orange hues and tones, you can even upload an image and ask it to model it after that image. And then, of course, Photoshop itself allows you to take any image that you generate out of any system, whether it's a photograph or AI, and selectively regenerate sections of it. So this is where you got to get a little creative utilizing all these tools, but kind of, there's no really bounds to what you can do. And the most beautiful thing about Photoshop is something called generative expand. So let's say that the image doesn't have enough room above the head and you want to put text above it. You can quite literally just pull their crop tool and make it bigger, and then a prompt will come up. If you just hit return, it will guess what it should be. But you can say, throw foliage above the head or whatever. It will just create the image bigger. The last thing I want to mention is there's also upscaler tools. A lot of these AI images come out looking a little wonky, where like the teeth don't look right or the fingers look wrong. And you can use upscalers, and Magi has an upscaler built into it. And what an upscaler will do is it will actually regenerate the image, double the resolution, but it will also enhance it as it goes through it, adding details and special effects.
Man, that's some very nuanced tactical tips that we can apply. Okay, finally,
dishes just aren't getting clean.
Problem isn't your machine. It's likely your detergent. I recommend switching to Cascade Platinum Plus. These new pods have the grease-fighting power of Dawn, easily removing up to 100% of tough stuck-on foods. Cascade Platinum Plus.
Try Crest 3D White. Finally, a daily whitening toothpaste for whiter teeth in one day.
This was nice.
John, what did you do this morning?
I woke up.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, great. Let's go. Oh, this is awesome.
You wake up, good morning, is a brand new day. Blue skies above, it's a perfect day.
We gave the all-electric Prologue generous passenger space. We elevated the design, and with Google built-in, we made its tech intuitive. With the Prologue SUV, we've made it easy to go electric, just like you'd expect from a Honda. Buy online, reserve from select dealers, or visit your local Honda dealer today.
Descriptions. Obviously, one of the most important things, in fact, what we're talking about here is the power of making better thumbnails. And if we're also writing better titles, you talked about perhaps descriptions earlier, as you talked about using AIstudio.google to write a summary of a YouTube video that reinforces it, that gives you some good keyword-rich, text-rich to help the video. But what are you using for titles and descriptions, and what are your additional tips there?
Okay, so many of us are pretty good at creating titles. We feel like we've got it down, we've done it plenty, but you could quite literally take a title into ChatGPT or Claude and simply say, enhance this. And that's it. It'll come up with 10 different variations, and I would suggest doing it across both platforms. And then what you can do is you can kind of look at it and say, all right, which one do I like better? Which one do I not like? Or if you want to, you can say enhance this so it's more relevant for this audience. And it will take that and it will actually come up with variations of it. But let's say you've done it kind of backwards. Let's say you created the video, and Sean and a lot of other people often expound that it's really important to have the title in mind before you start the video, but let's just say that's not how it rolled with you. You could quite literally take your closed caption file or the transcript or whatever you have access to, or even the summary if you've already crafted the summary, and you can ask it to create 10 headlines, and it will go ahead and take that data. And you can specifically say, create headlines for email, create headlines for podcasts, create headlines for YouTube. It's going to understand the nuances of each of those things. For example, it'll know for email that there's a limited amount of characters that show up in the email before it gets cut off. It'll know the same thing about YouTube. So you can quite literally just have it be your creative playground to actually create better headlines. And often the descriptions is something we're really weak at. A lot of times we have this template that we've been using forever that's horrible, right? Well, if you want to create a description, we could use the example we talked about earlier with AI Studio to quite literally have it just listen to the darn thing and create a couple variations that are almost certainly going to be better than what you could come up with on your own.
I just posted a video on 25 major YouTube updates creators can't ignore, and a great video with a YouTube employee that is a must watch, which I'll link into the show notes to really get you ready for 2025. But what I did was, as you described, I took that title and I put it into Claude and said, enhance this YouTube title. And it gave me 4 options. And the original title was 25 new YouTube updates every creator needs to know. And then it updated with 25 major YouTube updates creators can't ignore, parentheses 2025 changes, and then it explains why. Adds urgency, includes a year reference for freshness, can't ignore creates more FOMO than need to know. Really good. The second option, YouTube's 25 biggest changes that will impact your channel. Personal with your channel will impact. I see what you're saying in terms of, it's like in terms of writing.
It's helping you learn why it's doing what it's doing, which is kind of cool. Now ChatGPT will not do that.
Yes.
ChatGPT will just give you a list. You know that, right?
Yep. And then 25 critical YouTube changes creators are missing. Of course, then I have to use my intuition to filter that. Is major to extreme, or is it critical, or they, whatever. But nevertheless, YouTube just changed everything. 25 updates you must need to know. In a way, YouTube didn't really just change everything. But if there can still be, there's a tension between, we call it
that's where you would want to give it. That's where you would want to give it maybe more data, right? You only gave it the headline, right?
Sure.
So in the ideal world, if you give it the description or even the entire transcript, it's going to give you better results.
And so your prompt then starts to include like, okay, that's a little bit too much clickbait, because really what these are about is maybe some practical updates. I still want as much urgency and clickability as possible.
It's only going to be as good as the context you provide it. So for example, if you said you were a world-class YouTube title generator, and I'm going to give you an entire transcript of this video, and you don't even give it the title of the video. If you did that, and then I want you to do is come up with like 7, and I want you to rank them. I mean, however you want, and I want you to give me which one you think is going to have the greatest likelihood for this kind of audience. The more context you give it, the better it'll perform every single time.
That's genius. And so, we talked about a lot of tools here, and I've been implementing these in real time. So I want to encourage listeners, that's the next move, is not to just consume information, but to not be afraid to punch fear in the face, punch getting uncomfortable in the face, and dive into these tools. Start using them. Start posting some stuff in there. You mentioned it's only as good as the context you give it, but even without giving Claude context, these are some incredible. I'm actually in Slack right now talking to Steph and Kyle, and they're like, these titles are strong.
I'm Stanley Tucci, and I'm exploring the complex connections between the land, the people, and the food they eat.
Oh my God, it's so good!
In the country I love, Italy.
Perfecting your swing is hard.
Nice shot, Dad.
But replacing your windshield doesn't have to be. Go to safelight.com and we can come to you.
Sick.
Our highly trained techs can replace your windshield where you are, even if that's right in your driveway.
Have a good day. I love you.
SafeLight makes it easy. Go to safelight.com and schedule a replacement today.
SafeLight repairs. SafeLight replace.
Woo! Better, faster, cheaper. You can only pick 2, right? Well, Finn, Intercom's AI agent for customer service, is here to change that. Finn can accurately resolve problems 10 times faster, which makes customer satisfaction soar. And at only 99 cents per resolution, your team can handle more questions for less. Better, faster, cheaper. Go ahead, pick all 3. Intercom, AI-first customer service.
And so
that's crazy. And you didn't even really give it much direction at all.
And I didn't give it much direction at all. So always getting a little bit better and knowing that we've actually kind of learned this in our community too. Like we mentioned in the last episode, Eric Ries, the author of The Lean Startup, said the only way to win is to learn faster than anybody else. We've understood, like in our coaching program, that actually coaching is more essential now than ever before, or being a part of a community, or being a part of a mastermind, or being in some kind of a membership, because it's going so fast. And so being plugged into ongoing learning, knowledge transfer, iron sharpens iron, small tweaks lead to giant peaks. And you've done that today. I mean, it's been one of the richest episodes with so many tactical things that can help us crush content in 2025. So I want you to shout out, of course, how people can stay connected with you. You're going deep in AI. And by the way, I mean, I just clicked subscribed on your new podcast and YouTube channel because I was like, I got to stay plugged in. I need to know this stuff. And there's really just no option. There's those who are going to embrace AI and there's those who are going to get left behind.
Yeah, AI Examiner, at AI Examiner on YouTube is where you find it if you're a watcher of podcasts. If you are a listener, it's called AI Explored. You can find it in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, and Amazon Music. And I'd love it if you let me know what you think about this. You can search my name and find me pretty much anywhere in the socials.
Michael Stelzner, thank you so much for adding massive value today. Think Media Podcast, wherever you watch or listen, if you got value, if you could like, rate, review, or share. And if you're on YouTube, leave us a comment of any future questions that you would have as we bring on future guests and even Michael Stelzner back. My name is Sean Cannell, your guide to building a profitable YouTube channel. This is the Think Media Podcast, and we'll catch you in a future episode. Haven't heard, there's a new report from Google and YouTube that reveals why some YouTube channels grow, why others do not. The truth is, the YouTube growth landscape has been massively changing in 2025 and really over the last year. And if you think that success on YouTube is about perfect lighting, perfect presentation, or having fancy equipment, think again. This report reveals some pretty surprising insights about what really matters after surveying thousands of consumers of content. And you and I can benefit from that information for our own channels, whether you're just starting, whether you want to grow faster, or maybe you hit a plateau. In this video, we're going to be covering 6 insights from this report that you can immediately apply to get better results on your next video. Welcome to the Think Media Podcast. My name is Sean Cannell, your guide to building a profitable YouTube channel. And today we are talking about this study called Why We Watch, Beyond the Frame, How Viewers Perceive Content Quality. So Google did a study of thousands of consumers, and they figured out, what do people really want to see in videos? Now, in today's episode, we're covering 6 of the insights. And this is actually going to be a 3-part series because there's so much in this report, which I'll link up in the show notes. But the cool thing is, this isn't theory, this isn't outdated advice, and this isn't just somebody's opinion. I have grown multiple channels personally, got like 3 silver play buttons and a gold play button, but things also change over the years. So hopefully you're listening to advice on YouTube from a place of authority, but there's also something about having like real data and not just people putting stuff out there for clickbait and stuff like that. So let's get into number 1. And here's the takeaway. Share personal stories behind your teaching points. The stat, brain scans show 73% higher engagement during personal storytelling moments. So they hook some people up to some machines with wires into their brains. And when watching a video, there's something about the information, the facts, the details. But when we click into story mode, 73% higher engagement if you weave in a story. Now, storytelling itself is an art form. You know, you don't want to take 2 hours to tell a life story to illustrate one point, right? So kind of figuring out how to tie it in. But this reminds me of a famous quote that says, "Facts tell, but stories sell." And in business, I think that's important to know. The stories are they illustrate things, right? They bring life to it, and our brains are wired for stories. So sometimes if it's too monotonous, if it's too monotonous, how many different ways can you say that word? If it's too droning on. It's just all information. You gotta liven it up with some personal stories. And the insight is that viewers connect more deeply with content that includes real experiences rather than just information. And an application could be to start your next video or tie into your next video something that shares a story that illustrates the points you're making, or maybe this phrase. You know, I used to struggle with this too, and based on my experience, now let's take this deeper, because there is a guideline from Google that helps influence the ranking of websites, and I am certain this thinking from Google, since Google owns YouTube, applies to video content as well. In 2025, one of the biggest threats, if you will, is AI content. That more than ever before, information-based videos and information-only based videos are easier and easier and easier to make. And people can also just regurgitate information because they go to ChatGPT and just get a checklist of things to say in a video. Well, this Google guidelines called EEAT really reinforces this first point, and really serious content creators and entrepreneurs doing video need to know this. Here's what it stands for. Google's EEAT guidelines stand for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Basically, Google is ranking websites based off of first-hand experience. And I think this is interesting because AI can't have experience, right? Or somebody that just gets a script from AI can't really connect. I mean, they can try if they're a good actor, but like, it's your stories, it's your trauma, it's the stuff you've been through that connects. So the insight is real stories and personal experience help your content stand out from just AI generated or surface level content. Really, I think in 2025, we're going to see a couple trends. One, content is becoming more shallow and more surface level. But two, those who go deep are going to win. And so how can you include in your next video these 4 elements? Experience. When did you live that point? Have you made mistakes in that area? How did you learn that? Like when people, this is what people want to see. Anybody can pump out like a product review, but not anybody can pump out, I actually tried the product and I did experiments with it for 2 weeks, and then I made some mistakes for the 3rd week, and then I tested it and it broke on the 4th week. Anybody can just regurgitate the bullet points on an Amazon listing page. Experience, like you've actually had the experience with it. Second, expertise. This speaks to having some real depth, doing something for a while, not just starting you can start a YouTube channel, I think, if you're 1 or 2 steps ahead of other people. But there's something about having expertise and compounding your expertise and actually getting good and actually getting some months under your belt and then some years under your belt. Authoritativeness. How can you include authoritativeness in your video? And this might be just letting people know, earlier on I said I've got a couple silver play buttons and a gold play button. So you just might say, okay, out of all the people I could follow and listen to, if Sean has some experience, been doing video, I think for 22 years now. I started video for my church in 2003. So 22 years ago, has a little bit of experience, some expertise in that, some authority because I've got some results and some silver play buttons or whatever, and then trustworthiness. And this is going to speak to, of course, the quality of the information you present, if it gets results for people or not, or if it works, if it's funny or if it's educational and they apply it and it generates results for people. But then trustworthiness over time as well. So I think this number 1 point is not just backed up by the study, but we're seeing Google weight this point. That kind of ties into share personal stories behind your teaching points, because real experience and lived experience woven into your videos is going to be one of the fundamental keys to success on YouTube going forward as the landscape continues to change. Every day you want to start your YouTube channel is another day of missed opportunities and untapped potential. Here's the truth. YouTube reaches more 18 to 49-year-olds than all the cable networks combined. The opportunity is massive, and the Think Media team and I want to help you seize it. I'm excited to announce our YouTube 1K Challenge, a free 5-day event that will give you the exact blueprint to start and grow your YouTube channel in 2025. Whether you're an entrepreneur, business owner, or somebody ready to grow their personal brand, this challenge is your roadmap to success. To register, just go to tube1kchallenge.com. We're going to be doing one training session a day for 5 days, and you're going to learn how to get your first 1,000 subscribers and start earning real income. Insider strategies that make viewers want to click on your videos and keep watching. Multiple different ways to earn money from your YouTube channel, even if you have a small audience, and how to build an authentic personal brand that truly connects with people. But it gets even better. We are giving away prizes every single day of the challenge. You could win professional microphones, lighting kits, and premium content creation software. And during this challenge, you're getting access to the exact training that we offer in our $4,000 coaching program, but you're getting it completely for free. And you can start with just your smartphone. So if you're ready to turn 2025 into your YouTube breakthrough year, go to tube1kchallenge.com to register. That's tube1kchallenge.com, or click the link in the show notes or YouTube description to register for our upcoming challenge. Number 2, show your learning process instead of just the results. So here's the stat. 74% of viewers trust creators who demonstrate how they gained their knowledge. The insight is showing how you learn something builds more credibility than simply stating the facts. It also just generally makes things more interesting because we want to see the process and the journey, and the study backs this up. And I think a great example of this at a higher level is Mark Rober, who's got a super cool YouTube channel. He's done a lot of things where he sort of surprises and scams the scammers. And he's done some videos where he had these squirrel obstacle courses. Those are my favorite ones. And oftentimes he shows the prototypes, he shows the failed attempts, and he shows the process. It'd be one thing to just show the final squirrel obstacle course and the squirrels going through it, but he really brings you in along the journey. And so here's some thoughts on how you could apply this one. You could include segments showing your research process, showing your notes, showing how you figured something out. Again, if maybe you had a fitness channel, it's kind of a good example. There's something about seeing the journey and the transformation and the process and the failure along the way as you document the journey and show the ups and downs, as opposed to just, I did the workouts and here's the final result. People are like, okay, cool. But show me the ups and downs, the pain, the good and the bad. Show me the failed attempts and the prototypes and the things that you learned. Bottom line is that viewers trust creators who demonstrate how they gain their knowledge, not just showing off the knowledge that they gained. All right, next insight. Create multi-part content that rewards regular viewers. Here's the stat. Series viewers show 14% higher engagement than random video watchers. The insight is connected content builds stronger viewer loyalty than standalone videos. So ask yourself this question, not just what video should I make next, but what series should I make next? There are a lot of creators out there that understand the power of not just creating standalone videos, but creating series. I think of Matt Diavella. He usually will, take a topic and go pretty deep in it, sometimes not just doing kind of a mini documentary, but extending it over a multi-part series, which leaves you hanging and wanting more. My attempt to apply this point was realizing how many insights are in this report that are directly applicable to your next video. So I thought, rather than share all 15 in one episode, how about I do about 5 per episode? And that's what we're doing here. So subscribe for the rest of the episodes in this very series. Trying to practice what I'm learning from the report. Next, be real about your mistakes and your learning moments. Here's the stat. Brain scans show 63% stronger viewer connection during moments of vulnerability. Here's the insight. Sharing struggles builds more trust than only showing successes. And so you can see that some of these are stacking, but I think there's some nuance to this. The key word here being vulnerability. I heard it said once that people need to hear about your struggle before they connect with your success. And in a lot of the entrepreneurs that I've coached, I found that they struggle with this one. I think the myth is, people want to know that I overcame the problem. They want to know that I'm You know, I solved it. Look at me now. I'm successful now. And I'm kind of, it's not like they're doing it from a prideful or arrogant place, but they are kind of doing it from a powerful place, thinking like that's what's going to connect with people. And the truth is, it actually, if you miss this piece, it can actually be a block to connection with people. And it's not that you don't want to share your successes, because especially if you're teaching something, most people want to learn from somebody who's achieved the result. It's just the fact that people connect with your struggle before they connect with your success. So this ties into the storytelling, but it takes it deeper to say it's not just in telling stories, but specifically tell stories about genuine challenges. Where have you failed? Where have you stumbled along the way? Sometimes what can happen too is we just forget where we came from. And it's maybe been so long, like I have to always remind myself, especially now that I built multiple different YouTube channels, I got to go all the way back to the fear of getting on camera and what are people going to think. Go back to the frustration of working so hard on videos and those views being incredibly low. And it's like I've edited a video for 7 hours and it only got 7 views. And that makes you want to give up. And be intentional about remembering about the path I have personally walked, a path full of failure and mistakes and scrapes and scars. I think that I hold the record for making the most mistakes out of any YouTube creator. I've posted enough videos and made enough bad videos that I eventually got to some good ones. And so an application for this is consider in your next video, not just sharing stories to illustrate your points and not just sharing successes, but also sharing your struggles. And I did receive one final piece of advice on this that I think is invaluable, and it was this: share your scars, don't share your open wounds. Because when we think about vulnerability, I think that it can at times be a mistake to be vulnerable about something that is not healed yet, or at least somewhat in scar form, but it's literally a gushing wound. It's super sensitive. We haven't fully processed it, and it just might not be the right time to vomit that into a YouTube video or all over social media. Just something to consider, that there's maybe certain stories that are appropriate for vulnerability and going to be helpful to others, and maybe others where if you just bleed on people and it's maybe a little bit toxic, hey, it's your channel, it's your content, but that advice has served me well. I think that all stories maybe can eventually be shared, but some maybe should be kept a little bit private until they've healed up a little bit more. Next insight: emotional connection beats video quality. Here's the stat: 97%. It's a wild number. Basically everybody, 97% of viewers prioritize emotional connection, while less than 1% care only about technical quality. Now, you might be new here, but if you've known me for a while, I started the Think Media channel, right? So I love cameras, I love lenses, I love gear. I got all this gear behind me. Listen, I'm all about that camera quality, that technical quality. I'm here for it. But here's what the data says. Only 1% of viewers, that's what matters to them. Only 1% care about the technical aspects of a video, but 97% care about the emotional aspects. That's interesting because it makes me wonder. It's like, how much money have you invested in cameras or tech or lighting or plan to invest? And how much money have you invested in therapy and books and storytelling? Is it balanced? I don't know. Like how tapped in are you to not just your emotions, but sharing emotions? And it's not like you have to, you got to just be yourself, but it's emotional connection, right? It's the emotional connection that really matters. The insight is viewers stay for authentic connection, not for production value. And I actually have a bunch of questions you can ask before hitting record to get into the right mindset and to get into the right, if you will, vibe for filming based on this point. Because developing your message more, developing your content more, and even emotional hooks is going to be better than tweaking the technical details. So here's 5 questions to ask before you hit record. Number 1, what's the core emotion I want viewers to feel when watching this video? Is it inspiration, laughter, curiosity, comfort, a sense of community? Number two, how does my experience connect to the viewers? Even if your topic is technical, find the human element. And that is that phrase we talked about, like, I used to struggle with this, too, is a powerful starting point. You know, I think back, I remember when I was starting and some of the emotions I felt and some of the overwhelm I felt. You also can share your why. Why does this matter to you? Not just what are the facts and the details, but the why behind it. Why are you passionate about this? Why do you care? Number three, where can I inject vulnerability? This doesn't mean oversharing, but being genuine about your challenges. Did you make mistakes learning this? Did you have doubts? This builds trust and shows you're not the perfect expert. Number four, how can I make this feel more like a conversation? So even though YouTube videos are solo, there's things you could do that better pull viewers in that can lead to that vulnerability and connection. You can use language like we. You can ask questions. And obviously that person's not there to respond, except maybe you're watching the YouTube version and they can reply in the comments, which is really cool about the fact that YouTube is a two-way conversation. But you might anticipate thoughts. And you know what you might be thinking next, and you're like, that is what I'm thinking. And so it's kind of an art form and a skill to develop, but imagine you're explaining it to a friend. And I think it's just something to practice, but I do know that some creators have kind of a preachy tone to it, or it doesn't feel like I'm being included in the conversation, versus others kind of have this two-way conversation going. And so something to consider. Number five, what's the takeaway beyond the information? So when you're planning your video, ask this question: how will this video leave the viewer feeling empowered? Is it a new skill? Is it a shift in mindset? Is it a sense of belonging? What do you want the viewer to feel, especially once the video completes? This is the so what that makes them care. Being thoughtful that, like, this is leading to something, that there is a aha moment, there's a so what to this. And there's an interesting concept called the epiphany bridge. And it's actually thinking about when crafting content, that there's like a problem or an obstacle, and then there is a story. And the point of the story is to have a moral of the story that leads to an epiphany. And then as a result, the story helps someone overcome a limiting belief, overcome that obstacle, and arrive at a new destination. I hope that you experienced that multiple times on this podcast. That it's like, maybe I thought it was too late to start YouTube. And then I'll share with you a story about creators that are starting in the last 6 months, and they are starting new channels and having success. And that might be an epiphany that, like, it's not too late to start YouTube. And so there's an aha moment, there's a takeaway, or the new stats that are happening. So you're just structuring your video. Number five, what's the takeaway behind this information? And how am I going to get people there with a lot of the tools we've been learning in this entire video? Storytelling, vulnerability. What epiphanies could I create on the journey along the way? Now, I've got one more insight to share with you, but I did want to give you a heads up that if you have not heard, our next free 5-day YouTube challenge is coming up soon, or it might already be happening right now, and you can check it out at tube1kchallenge.com. Whether you jump in partway through or whether you just register for the waiting list for the next one, our free YouTube challenges are incredible. People love them. It's all about how to get your first or next 1,000 subscribers. It's about the new ways and the fundamentals of how to build a side income and go full-time on YouTube. And we do a lot of giveaways of software, gear, tech, tools that will help you create content. And every single day we learn something, and every single day we have application. We are challenged to do something. The reason it's called a 5-day challenge is because it's going to be challenging you to define your niche and your topic better, or for the first time, challenging you to come up with better video ideas, structure and outline those videos, and even film a video. So whether you're already started on YouTube, but maybe you're feeling stuck, or whether you've been on the fence and you're like, now's my time, 2025 is my year, go to tube1kchallenge.com to register for free, or check out the link in the show notes and you can be a part of our next challenge. Okay, here's our bonus point. You do not need the perfect set. Here's the stat. Research shows viewers trust content more when they can see it comes from a genuine place. And I know a lot of people sometimes feel like, man, I got nowhere to film in my house. I have nowhere to film in my apartment. And it's always like making excuses. Like one day when I'm able to clean up that YouTube background or buy that stuff on Amazon, or one day when I get that garage studio built that I want, or one day when my kitchen or my bedroom's cleaner. Listen, press record now. Research shows people just want to see the genuine. It's okay to film if your house is messy. If you're a parent like me, I got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, it is perpetual chaos in my house. And so the application is film in your actual environment instead of creating the perfect backdrop. Let viewers see where you really work and create, which I think ties into the theme of this first part of the 3-part series we are doing on the What We Watch 2.0 report, which, by the way, if you want to check this out, it's totally free. I'll link to Google, aka YouTube's report, so you can read it for yourself, and that'll be in the show notes. I'll also link to the 1K challenge if you want to register, and that'll be in the show notes as well. And hit subscribe, because I'll be coming at you with more insights that you can apply to your next video in part 2 on the Think Media podcast coming up soon.
Bugs, the struggle is real. That's why you need Zevo traps. Zevo attracts and traps bugs 24/7 using a blue and UV light with no odor and no mess for effortless protection. Zevo, people friendly, bug deadly.
New Ritz Zesty Herb Crush Stacks go anywhere. Take zest to go and let the zest take you places. New Ritz Zesty Herb Crush Stacks. Another way to enjoy Ritz on the go.
This episode of the Think Media podcast, we're going to be talking about how to turn what you know into a profitable career.
I was looking at data from my business, and I realized that 85% of our orders were coming a year after somebody gave me their email address. And the reality is people will forget that you exist if you don't remind them.
And if you're already posting content on YouTube, maybe you have a smaller audience or a smaller channel, size really doesn't matter if you have the right strategy. And we're going to actually be breaking down how to do $100,000 plus per year.
Romantic relationships, friendships, relationships with brands, relationships with politicians, they all work in 3 phases.
What are the biggest mistakes people make when writing emails and following up?
Well, the biggest mistake is they don't do it. I give you several categories of goals to set for your business in the book, but let me give you 2 that are really important. The first is the most important, and that is...
In this episode of the Think Media podcast, we're going to be talking about how to turn what you know into a profitable career. And if you're already posting content on YouTube, maybe you have a smaller audience or a smaller channel, size really doesn't matter if you have the right strategy. And we're going to actually be breaking down how to do $100,000 plus per year, and really 8 practical steps for that. My guest today is Donald Miller, author of Coach Builder and other classics like Building a Story Brand. And I'm super fired up for this conversation with Donald. How's it going?
Wonderful. Yeah, thankful to be here.
So I just finished your new book, Coach Builder. And the big idea here is that when it comes to starting a YouTube channel, a lot of times people think about ad revenue and things like that. And oftentimes a full-time career off of just YouTube ads might not only be a long ways out, it probably might be never for a lot of people, because you're getting pennies for your views. But so many people listen to this that are educators, that are maybe have experience they don't realize they have, that they could in turn turn into coaching or something like that. So can you give us the big idea? You really help business coaches in this book, but you expand it out to what it could be like. You have some experience. What's the big idea and the opportunity when it comes to coaching?
The idea is knowledge is worth something, because knowledge helps people make money, save money, experience less frustration. You know, just recently, I went through a little health transition, trying to figure some things out. Nothing critical at all, but I realized, wow, I'd love to pay somebody $800 a month to help me understand, this MRI and this and all that kind of stuff. We need a concierge medicine coach, but they don't exist. And I thought, well, there you go. We have all these nurses who are underpaid who could actually be be moonlighting as concierge coaches for 5 or 6 clients and probably double their salary. I had an experience with my home, married with a baby, and realized, okay, I need a front gate, I need a security system, all that kind of stuff. I wish there was a police officer or former military who could come to my house and take me through a checklist on everything I needed to do. What do I do with my weapons, and how do I keep them safe from the kids, and all those sorts of things. So now you have underpaid police officers and former military, underutilized with their knowledge, professionalizing their wisdom and productizing it in such a way that it's helpful to the world. That's what Coach Builder is about. We talk a lot about business coaching because people understand business coaches, but there are so many people who have wisdom, and a lot of them, they go to YouTube and they start sharing that wisdom without realizing you can do this for advertising revenue. That's really terrific, but you can also actually create a menu of products and sell them for $2, $3, $5, $10, $15,000 a pop, and actually make a lot of money. And now your YouTube presence is promoting something that is really good for the world.
That's so powerful. And I'm curious, how big is the opportunity from the angle of, I think it's a new idea that people would actually pay for knowledge, right? To some, like, how much can I charge? How much they may hear numbers, oh, that wouldn't work for me. But what's actually happening out there?
Well, it's not a new idea in the sense that, consulting firms like Accenture and KPMG have been making billions and billions and billions of dollars. The new evolution is that the average person is now able to do that, just like YouTube. I mean, media was something when I grew up, it was 5 channels that you actually physically clicked the dial to get some other frequency. And now it's just democratized. And so I think wisdom is also being democratized. And I'm telling everybody listening, get in on it, because people are now very, very much used to it. My wife works with a woman named Nicole Burke with an organization called Gardenary that she started. Her vision is to make gardening ordinary. And Nicole came over, helped us with our kitchen garden, helped us know what the spring planting would be, spent a day with us. She makes $1 million a year giving gardening advice. She has no degree in gardening. She just discovered it when she started her own garden. She realized she's got an incredible green thumb. She had so much lettuce she had to pass around in the community, and that's a great free advertising. So these ladies said, how are you growing this lettuce? Teach me. And she's making $1 million a year with that knowledge now. So I think it's, wisdom is being democratized, but there's things that you need to do if you want to coach or consult for a living, apart from just giving your advice away for free. There's a system to it, and the Coach Builder is that system.
Well, I'm excited to talk through those 8 steps, at least at a high level. But in the beginning of the book, you compare 2 options, and you say, personally, what would you rather have? A master's in business from a prestigious university versus hiring a coach? You recommended hiring a coach. Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, I don't want to throw prestigious universities under the bus. Probably not a good idea. There's a lot of R&D in the sciences and the medical community that come out of universities. A lot of the drugs that we take that are saving lives and possibly not saving lives, but come out of the medical community. All rocket engines came out of the university system. I think when it comes to business, big universities tend to do a pretty good job preparing you to be chairman of the Fed, but not a very good job running a small business. And so if you got a mom and pop shop and you want to grow a business, I think
So chewy and chocolatey and big. New Chips Ahoy, Big Chew.
We know it seems easier to just hide your scars, but with consistent daily use of Mederma, you can help the old and new scars, along with your doubts, in as little as 8 weeks. See how progress is possible when you make Mederma a part of your routine.
Shop and you want to grow a business, I think shutting that down and going back to college is not an option. And I think if you did shut it down and go back to college, you wouldn't learn very much about how to grow that business. You'd learn about, the future and artificial intelligence and these sorts of things, but probably not how to read a P&L statement and make good decisions. So hiring a business coach is just a better move at that point. But again, if you want to be a doctor, you need to go to school. So nothing against the university system. But I think that having somebody that you can talk to on a weekly basis basis about the decisions that you're trying to make, who have been there a little bit before you and made the mistakes that they don't want you to make, is invaluable. When I look back on the hockey stick growth periods that I've had, one of the reasons for some of those hockey stick periods of growth is because of I met a person, and the person taught me X. And I can name those people. I can name them. Greg Harris taught me about publishing. Doug Kime taught me about systematizing and professionalizing an operation. Governor Haslam here in Tennessee became a friend and taught me about leadership. There were people associated with those, and none of them were university professors. They were practitioners.
So getting to people with experience, and you have a lot of experience in this area, and of course, we're going to go through these tips, but on page 31, you talk about how to build a $150,000 coaching business in under 24 months, and you say, what if people feel weird about asking for this kind of money for coaching? For those, as we break down these steps, because I really want our community to lean in, you walk through a system for this, and this might seem just crazy for somebody like that hasn't broken into that yet, or maybe in their career they're making 80K, which is awesome, but even to hear a number like, wait, in 24 months I could be doing 150 plus, and towards the end of the book you talk about reverse engineering 7 figures. I know you really break down the specific math, but like where does that money come from? Like, what are the numbers? What could that look like?
Yeah, well, first of all, let's deal with the mindset of asking ourselves, are we really worth $150,000 to share information? Especially information that you could probably get on YouTube or on the internet or a book on Amazon. The reality is you could probably get all the information that you need to make $150,000, or the person that you're selling your consulting services to can get everything they need for free. But they can't get it from a human being, one-on-one. They can't get it from somebody who's empathetic, who's going to listen to them, and who's going to nuance that information for them. If you are a business coach, for example, you can make somebody millions and millions of dollars by teaching them something. For instance, I have a friend who he charges $350,000 a year for his coaching. He will meet with you 1 hour a month. So you're getting 12 hours for $350,000. So I said, Dan, why are you worth $350,000? Obvious question. He said, I'm not worth $350,000. However, who I know is worth $350,000. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, if you want to sell your company, I probably know who's going to buy it. And if you want a chief marketing officer, I think I probably know who that is. You're buying my Rolodex. So what is that worth would you pay somebody $350,000 to get a 2x multiple extra on your company when you probably could have got a 6x, or positioning it such a way, or to know somebody who's going to be able to build that app? Even a YouTube strategist, I can hire somebody to be my YouTube person, but let's say that I hire my YouTube person and then I say, I want you to hire a Sean Cannell certified coach for 1 year to get you going. That's going to be $1,500 a month for me to hire that coach for you. What am I getting out of that as a businessman? I'm probably getting a 10x return conservatively on that $1,500, right? Because the compound interest on the knowledge and the mistakes that we don't have to make are worth a lot of money. So there's a lesson in there for all of us. What you want to charge is a small percentage of the money that you are making or saving somebody else in the business community. Now, let's say it's gardening, right? $1 million on gardening, they're not making you any money. In fact, I ate a tomato out of our garden last night. I'm pretty sure the cost of that tomato was $37. You actually extrapolate it all out. But what somebody's buying then is peace of mind. They're buying hobby. They're buying connection with their family. And then you need to put a dollar value on that. What would you pay to have a family project that you all love? Would you pay $5,000 a year for that? Absolutely. You'd pay a lot more than that just to go to Disney World. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people who have the wisdom haven't taken the step yet to figure out the value, the commercial value of that wisdom. And what you're looking for is peace of mind, better sleep, better health, better self-esteem, cleaner, organized house. All of that stuff has an economic value, and you want to charge what you're worth. Now, the other reason to not give this stuff away for free is that when people give away things for free, they aren't valued. Early on in my career, I ran story brand marketing workshops, and probably 8 or 10 times somebody had a nonprofit or a friend said, hey, can I get in, sit in the back of the room, and I would let them come in for free. I probably had.
If you're making a to-do list today, make it easy on yourself. Just write down Reese's, then write down eat them, and then you're kind of done for the day. JK, try Caramel Big Cup too.
Motrin Dual Action with Tylenol. Motrin targets pain. Tylenol Plus. Motrin Dual Action with Tylenol.
Look at how Oral-B Electric cleans 100% better than regular brushes. It's time to switch. That. Push that. Pump that. Work that. Push that. Work out.
When it comes to driving my future, I choose to be driven by innovation, intelligence, and style. So what drives you? The all-electric Nissan Ariya.
20,000 people come through those workshops. There were 8 or 10 people who were looking at their phones or skipping sessions or pacing around in the lobby on their phone while I was teaching, and every single one of them came in for free. Because when you don't pay for something, you actually attempt to justify in your mind why that wasn't worth something, rather than feel gratitude that you got something that should cost $3,000 for free. Mm-hmm. You think, well, this person is going to give me $3,000 worth of gratitude. They're actually not. They're going to build a case for why they were right and not paying anything. And so, you want to charge $500, half price, something, so that they have skin in the game and will turn around and respect that. So, all of that is why you should actually charge money for your products.
So strong. And let's get into these steps. And so step 1 is create a menu of products and services to sell your clients. Break this down a little bit.
Yeah. So if you've got a job and you want to start coaching and you're dreaming about that, let's start. Don't leave your job yet. What I want you to do is actually create a menu of products of the things that you can sell. For instance, let's say you're a marketing executive somewhere, or something like that. You could actually sell a one-day marketing strategy session for $7,500. We're going to go into a business and you're going to look at their current marketing strategy and you're going to improve that. You want to have that be a deliverable product. I like creating a keynote deck and a workbook. So you're clicking through the keynote and they're filling out the workbook as you go along. That would be a product that you could sell for $7,500. A lot of coaches, well, honestly, that's cheap. $15,000, $20,000. We sell them for $20,000. Mm-hmm. So, and also if you create the keynote deck and the workbook, I can charge $20,000 for somebody else coming in. We have 3 or 4 facilitators who go do that. So, it's just really smart to create those frameworks. But the menu of products, what it does is it gives you confidence that you have something that you can sell. If you are selling just coaching, if you say, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to become a coach, would you like to be a client? I can coach you. That's like walking into a restaurant and saying, what are you known for? What are your specials? And they say protein. Protein we're really known for our protein. We make really great protein. Yeah. That is a true statement, but it's unhelpful in terms of helping me give you money.
Yes.
If you say, listen, I am biased. We have the best cheeseburger in the city of Nashville. It is the best. Guess what I'm ordering? Protein. In the form of a cheeseburger, because I know what that is. That, I think, is the number one mistake people make when they get into coaching, is they just sell their coaching. And I think that's fine. You can end up selling your coaching, but let's start with a 6-month mastermind in which we overhaul your leadership. Let's start with a 12-month elite mastermind demographic, or only people who make more than $10 million. Let's start, so you want to actually come up with something specific that has a start date, an end date, a deliverable, and a price. And when you have 3 of those and you really dial them in and you know how you're going to deliver them, you are ready to start a coaching business. I still don't recommend leaving your day job yet, because there's another step 2, but you are ready to start a coaching business. And here's the other thing, Sean, you can actually say, well, if I need to make $175,000 to match the salary that I had in my day job, I know exactly how many of each products I need to sell in order to do it. And in coaching, it's a black box, and you're going to feel stressed. You're going to have trouble going to sleep. I know I need to sell 7 of these, 12 of these, and 4 of these. And now I can say, okay, how do I do it? Which is getting into step 2.
Would you recommend when you 7 of these, 4 of these, 12 of these, also that maybe you have low, medium, and high in terms of your menu too?
Yeah, it's always great to have sort of an entry-level product. In fact, one of the steps in the book is to have a ladder of products, and the whole bottom of the ladder is actually free. And I've realized I said don't charge nothing, but nothing is actually free. Some of them are in exchange for your email address. You're going to get this PDF, and then I'm going to send you these free nurture emails that are just automated. They don't cost me any time. And then I'm probably going to invite you to a webinar. Well, by this time, I've given you enough value, and there's time plus contact where we've created a bond a little bit, even if we've never met. It's all digital. And now you're willing to buy my $275 product, at which point is still digital. I've not put any skin in the game. But by the time that you and I are in a room together, we're probably at about $5,000.
Yeah.
And that's really where my time starts to come into play. I'm giving you time. Bottom price is $5,000.
Yep.
There's some automated digital products in there. There's some automated digital lead generators, those sorts of things. But starting from 0 all the way up to $50,000 would be that ladder of products.
I think that's a good clarity point too, because if you say we're going to put really high valuable free content on YouTube,
yes,
and content that can get people results in advance, start implementing, wow, that was helpful. In one sense, this idea of a lead magnet for email, some people call them freebies, freemiums. YouTube is a step in front of that, or in a way, a similar step.
Let me give you an example. I wrote a book called Hero on a Mission, and it's basically the description or the step-by-step instructions for a morning ritual that clears a busy mind and helps you stay on track and kind of plan your life. We created some software around that. Hero on a Mission software where you can go in and spend 15 minutes on a daily ritual. You fill out some questions. What am I grateful for? You look at your calendar of events, my primary tasks, those sorts of things. And we put the book out. It gets us 15 people a day signing up for the software. We did a YouTube video, and it gets us 100 people a day signing up for the software. So that's more powerful than a book. And the book was a bestseller. So yes, YouTube is a great strategy to lead people to your lead generator, which captures their email address and so forth and so on. And then let's go ahead and monetize that. The software is free. Nobody has to pay for it. But we would actually email you and say, would you like to spend $275 and watch the on-demand course? Well, first we're going to say you want to buy the book, like $20. Then the on-demand course is $275. Would you like to hire a coach to spend a year taking you through this system? Well, that coach paid me $10,000 to be certified to be that coach. So you can see how the monetization of the YouTube video can work in ways that are just beyond advertising. And it requires you scaling up a little bit of a coaching business.
Step 2, generate and manage a list of potential clients.
Yes. Who are you going to sell your products to? And a lot of people start with clients. And I would say start with products, because until you know what products you're going to sell, you don't know who you're going to sell them to. So basically what you want to do is you want to take a list of the problems that your products solve, and then make another list of the potential people who you know who could actually use the solution to that problem, and then write an email and send it to them and sell them that. That's before you even get into a CRM. Then once I get into a CRM, I want a lead generator that's providing emails to that CRM and automating the division of those 3 products and the 3 things that I'm going to sell people. But most coaches, for instance, a guy I know named Chad, who actually helps run my company. The reason Chad is with my company is he sent an email. He left another, not competitor, a friend of mine who does something similar, left their business, sent out one email to a small list of contacts that he had that said, here's what I did for Mike, and here's what I can do in the marketplace. I'm going to be doing some consulting, and hire me if you want. We'll teach you kind of what we did over here. I hired him immediately. Paid him a lot of money, enjoyed the relationship so much that I bought him out of his own consulting firm, and he gets an enormous amount of money being on my leadership team now from one email. But let me tell you what he did in that email. He described the problems that he solved at his previous company and said, if you have those problems, I can help you solve them. And by the way, in the book, there's formulas for writing emails, and we have now put inside of a
Scars don't have to be hidden. Mederma can help fade old and new scars, or your money back.
It's deep, chewy, and chocolatey. Deep like over 3 times bigger.
And it comes with two delicious flavors. New Chips Ahoy, Big Chewy. In the book, there's formulas for writing emails, and we have now put inside of a server artificial intelligence informed by StoryBrand that will help you write that sales letter. So, there's just so many ways to do it. But you need a menu of products, and then you need a list of people that you can sell those products to. And ultimately, if you really want to grow a coaching firm, you need a CRM managing leads selling those products.
And can you define CRM for listeners?
It's just customer relationship management software, Salesforce, HubSpot. Basically, you want a system where you've created emails that are automated, and when you stick an email address in there, it's going to send the first one, and then 5 days later, it's going to send the second one, and then 5 days later, 3 days later, 2 days later, you set it up to send the third one, and now you're building trust in an automated email system.
And I love this thing you hit in the book here. How do you launch your coaching business? You tell people you're a coach over and over.
Yes. Especially if you're trying to change your identity in their mind.
Yes.
Right.
So listeners are probably thinking about that, like, wait a minute, like to step into this thing of, I'm a coach, how do I become a coach? How will people know I'm a coach? This is even kind of a branding and positioning messaging thing. Speak to that mindset of someone that is leaning into this identity and building up that brand, and maybe the right mindset too of establishing a brand, because you say tell people over and over.
Right. Yeah, I remember when I wrote my first book, I was at a book signing my book, and one of the lady came up and said, "Hey, what is it like to be a writer?" And I just looked at her and I said, "Well, I'm not a writer." And she just looked at me very confused because I'm signing my book. Yeah. Identity often lags behind action. And you've got to get there. And so the only way that you can have the identity of a coach is actually if you coach. So a lot of the people get blocked because, well, I'm not a coach, I'm this. You need probably 3 really successful engagements as a coach before your identity will even begin to catch up. So the first thing is you're going to have to jump before you swim.
Hey, we're about to get back into the podcast in just a second, but I have a question for you. Do you want to grow your personal brand this year? Do you need more leads and sales in your business? If the answer is yes, then right now is the best time to go all in on YouTube. Today's podcast is brought to you by thinkmasterclass.com, where you can get on-demand access to a 1-hour deep dive training revealing how to start and grow a profitable YouTube channel this year. For a limited time, you can get access to this on-demand class entirely for free, where you will learn the 3 biggest mistakes that people make when starting a YouTube channel, the new rules and changes that have been happening on YouTube and how you can use them to create an unfair advantage, and the exact strategy we use at Think Media to generate over 350,000 organic views every single day. The data is clear. 70% of viewers claim that YouTube makes them more aware of new brands. So don't wait any longer to start growing your brand and business with YouTube. Just go to thinkmasterclass.com to get access to this no-fluff, highly tactical, free on-demand training. That's thinkmasterclass.com.
Right? It's like standing on the edge of the pool and saying, well, I'm not swimming. Well, it's because you're not in the pool.
Yes.
You will swim really fast, especially if you're in the deep end. So I encourage you to jump in and start coaching, but also to tell people that I now coach people through X. And you're going to have to kind of memorize a line because it's not going to feel true, even though it is true. You are actually coaching somebody. So I wouldn't be too self-deprecating about it. I think that's going to cost you in your career. But you want to jump in and begin to, your action will follow, your identity will follow action. We've got to get in there and start coaching, call ourselves a coach, put together a coaching website, begin promoting yourself. In 12 months, you're not going to have that problem anymore.
So strong. And step 3 is create a compelling website that attracts your ideal clients. And in this chapter, you do touch on your sales pitch or your elevator pitch, which you kind of just mentioned. Like maybe that's I solve X problem, or what is that?
Yeah, well, let's go through, we can go through all the parts of a website, but I just want to give you the part that needs to be at the top.
Yeah.
And the part that needs to be at the top is identify the problem that you solve as a coach and position your coaching product as the resolution of that problem. For instance, you would say a lot of people dream of being a really good cook. I leverage my 10 years of experience in, fine dining kitchens to teach you how to cook 6 amazing dishes of your choice. I'm in. I just made that up, and I'm like, where is that person? I will pay them money. Now imagine that's $2,500, and you get 6 different interactions you're going to videotape that interaction and put it on YouTube. Well, I just videotaped me with a client who's paying me $2,500 with their permission, putting it on YouTube. You know how many clients are going to be wanting the same experience?
Yeah.
I literally just started a business. Chefs don't make any money. My friend Andy Little ran Josephine here in Nashville, and they, sadly, the neighborhood that he was in became very, very popular, and they tripled his rent. He had to shut down his restaurant.
Jeez.
And he's getting older, and he doesn't want to work in a kitchen anymore. It's a young man's game. It's a young woman's game. I literally just. Andy, if you're watching, you could do this, and you could do it. You could work 4 months out of the year and make 3 times what you made as a chef, leveraging your experience. But what's the key? The key is, I will teach you how to cook. A lot of people will teach you how to cook. I will teach you to make 6. I'll show up for that and work the camera as long as I get a bite.
I love that. That's amazing. So, okay, so you want to create a website, and we'll keep it moving, and of course you break down all the step-by-step of the website.
So the top is